Well, must be story time, right? Let's see. Oh, wait, that wasn't it. Well, we always have this problem, don't we?
Verification.
No, that wasn't it. There it is. Entering the game.
Entering the game, 404. I entered a game without knowing there was a game. I didn't know there were rules. I didn't know who the players were. I only knew I had to navigate on instinct and intuition. I found myself inside what I now call the dark container. Later, she told me I was the last of 7. The appeals came in familiar forms. She appealed to the ego. The irony was that I'd spent years trying to loosen my grip on it, not inflate it. Every time another identity was offered for me to wear, something in me resisted. Then came desire, promises of tantric awakening, sacred partnership, soul family, twin flames. On paper, those are powerful hooks, the kinds of stories that feel irresistible when offered to someone searching for meaning. But I'd already been voluntarily abstinent for 6 years. For the first time in my life, I had discovered that contentment wasn't hiding behind another craving. The bar wasn't especially high. I had spent much of my life wrestling depression, but peace had become more valuable than pursuit. The strangest part wasn't the language. It was the experience, the meditations, the circles, the containers. Something meaningful was happening inside me, even if I couldn't fully explain it. Rather than rushing to assign a cause, I chose to document it. Observation first, interpretation later. Something else was already working. A rat wasn't trying to win the game. The rat was mapping the cage. Long before my conscious mind could explain what felt wrong, my nervous system was collecting data. Then came the shift. The moment the pattern cracked open. I was lying in bed when the memory flashed. Out of nowhere came the realization. Oh shit, not mythology, biology. What I call the amygdala shift wasn't a supernatural event. It was the realization that my fear system had encountered an alternative and survived. The old prediction that stepping away meant isolation, failure, or catastrophe didn't come true. In an instant, I saw the full architecture, not just of the container or the channel or the community platform or the funnel, but the larger network at play. For the first time, I didn't see it logically. I felt it in my gut, a visceral, unmistakable ache. I saw the structure and the behaviors driving it for what they were. Fear-driven, reactive, running entirely on threat response. A lever I'd spent years pressing for pellets stopped making sense. For 5 to 7 days, everything felt different. After a lifetime of depression, addiction, and believing I was a lost cause, I discovered something unexpected. I could reject the pellet. I could press the lever simply for the jollies. Not because someone told me to. Not because I was promised enlightenment, because peace itself had become rewarding. Alone, choosing peace was all I had ever wanted. In an unexpected way, I found it. What I eventually realized was this: the fire in my belly has never come from revenge. It comes from injustice. When I see people trapped in systems that quietly erode their agency, something in me comes alive. Not because I want to destroy the people involved, but because I want to understand the architecture well enough to build something better. We don't care about tearing down the funnels or obsessing over the machinery. We care about helping the people falling into them. You don't fight fire with fire. You fight fire with water, you silly gooses. Resentment is pointless. Once you understand the cage, you realize the schedules of reinforcement were set long before you were born, before your parents, before your grandparents. The pain passed down wasn't because parents set out to inflict it. It was simply all they knew. Some did better than others. Does that excuse anything? No. But if an apology never comes, we don't need anyone's apologies anymore. Stop telling. Show me. The energy doesn't go toward an equal and opposite reaction against those who wronged you. Energy put into revenge is energy stolen from your own life. You put it into yourself and into the collective if you want actual change. That energy doesn't stay confined to one problem. It spills over. One act of meaningful work generates another. Curiosity breeds creation. Creation breeds gratitude. Gratitude breeds more curiosity. Someone once asked me what I was doing differently. The closest answer I have is this. I stopped trying to manifest outcomes. I started embodying intentions. For a long time, I had given up on love. I had forgotten what it was like to love myself. A system isn't a person, but it is designed to separate you from yourself, to make you question your own core until you question everything else. Not in a creative way, but in a panicked, survival-driven way, pulled in every direction at once. So I stopped chasing their definitions and sought only truth and peace. The strange thing is, after months of doing this, even on days when I wanted to give up by the hour, I came to realize that the very act of seeking truth and peace at no cost was the ultimate act of unconditional love of self. And by extension, love for everything else. Am I perfect? Far from it. Will I always be sharpening the edge? Absolutely. Will I wobble? You bet your ass. Because that's where the growth happens. Tension creates the torsion event. And when a torsion event aligns with truth, it manifests from unconditional love. Most of us have never experienced unconditional love from another person. Only a few ever find it within themselves because we're conditioned by external systems to disconnect from our own worth. I used to feel like I was talking into the void, but it's not a void. The field hears the frequency. These observations, these intentions, are moments of prayer. My primary alignment is with myself and with the intangible field that connects everything. The rat, the human, the weaver, the biological system. It gets tired. The soul, though, is so full of life. Maybe it's just the body carrying the weight of the work. And so there is this strange paradox. All this action, all this creation, while still physically sitting in the basement. But I don't view it as a prison, not anymore. This floor was never failure. It was a laboratory, a med bay, a technical production line, a philosopher's stone, a place for a human being to process trauma and make sense of what happened without outside noise, without people dumping their own projections onto the narrative before it was even understood. You can't purchase integrity. You can't buy inner freedom. You can't fake coherence for very long. Those things aren't acquired. They're practiced, day after day, choice after choice, sometimes through laughter, sometimes through paradox, always through gratitude. Grace matters too, but grace without discernment becomes permission for the same pattern to repeat. Grace should heal. It shouldn't erase accountability. I'm still refining where that boundary belongs. Maybe that's the work. Learning to hold both compassion and discernment at the same time. The ego still enjoys imagining poetic justice. It notices the inconsistencies. It laughs at the incoherence. That's part of being human. But that's not the story. The story is that I can wobble without abandoning coherence. I can revise without abandoning myself. And when the time comes to tell the full record, I won't need outrage to carry it. There are timestamps, credit card statements, emails, screenshots, metadata. The record exists. I don't need to convince anyone. Reality can speak for itself. Until then, I'll keep choosing peace, pressing the lever for the jollies, and letting the story unfold one observation at a time.
Pretty good. 9.3 out of 9.5. Yeah. Extending too much grace really is, in a way, excusing one's bad behavior, whether you're extending it to someone else or yourself. So where is the appropriate line? I guess it's variable, right? People that have built up a lot of, and not intentionally, but just through their deeds and the way they carry themselves and their interactions, have built up a bank of sorts. So when they fuck up, as we all inevitably will, depending upon the degree of the fuck up and context, circumstance. I suppose that's something to sit with. Not make those decisions in the moment, or make them in the moment. See, as long as you've done the work and healed yourself enough, you do understand that everybody's talk about you behind your back, stuff they'll never say to your face, is all projection. Otherwise, they would say it to your face. And so, it tells me that they're still living in fear, in scarcity. It doesn't matter how much they say one thing. Their actions, their words, and the gaps between their words, the micro expressions, say everything that I need to know intuitively. But in order for me to share my findings, it has to survive reality contact first, observable data. So as I refine the gray path, I find myself having to wrestle with a truth that the gray path demands revision, reevaluation, language hygiene, clarity. A disciplined approach to living life that I'm actively writing, actively living. But I also understand that I'm human, and that my language, when I'm feeling a certain way, any type of way, is not always going to be most objective, observation before interpretation type of shit. I mean, not yet. It's a strange thing to be guru, student, someone designing the curricula, creating the lesson plans, doing the assignments in class and homework. Not just one subject. Damn near all, because everything's connected. And the mind is a motherfucker. It wants to go, not that it even wants to, it gets pulled. So one has to use discernment. What is it getting pulled to? See, I think a lot of people try to control reality, control their manifestation. And I believe the very act of control, no matter how it's done, whether if it's a physical act or manipulation, coercion, or energetically, or a thought form, whatever. If you allow yourself to get pulled with the emotion, as long as you've done the wobbling, you've done enough work to where your wobble is just a little oscillation, not this extreme pendulum swing. That's how I want to live my life. Honest, authentic. And what you get from me is what you get from me in that moment. I'm not going to pretend that I'm feeling happy when I'm not. I'm not going to fake a fucking smile anymore, unless I want to do it for me. Talked about that earlier. I will no longer fake a smile for another. Especially those fuckers. You know what I mean? Getting pulled in every direction while allowing yourself to stay centered. That must be a different kind of surrender. I don't follow anyone's playbook. I write my own. It's the best way to learn. It's the most authentic and true way to learn. Not just about yourself. Everything. It's whether you see it or not. You've been writing a story in your head your whole life. Now, whether that story is authentically you or not, it's not up for me to decide. That's up for the individual. Your lived experiences, your symbols, things that are important to you, easily be mapped on any subject matter you want to learn. Well, not so easily. It takes a special set of skills. I'd tell you what they were, but they're in the rat's nest, actually, down in the basement. They only come to the mind as the environment demands. It's the hand that holds nothing, remember? It's the grip and the release. Knowing that all the information's there, all the feelings, either end of the spectrum, and a commitment to know either end of the spectrum here, the space between the synapse and the feelings we feel in the chest and we call the heart space, are all infinite. And the commitment to the self to explore those avenues, those feelings, those thoughts without shame or any type of judgment. We were our own worst judge, jury, and executioner for decades. What's anybody gonna say or do to make me feel more like shit than I already made myself feel? It's literally nothing. And I have nothing. There's nothing the system can take away from me. So as I sit here shoveling another shovelful of dirt and shit onto any chance of a career, the self says good. Fuck that shit. We knew that searching for just truth and peace, if we were to able to find just a little bit of it, could live on the streets. And be happy, be content. Happiness and fun It's a child's dream. Constant stimulation. And so that gives me pause when people really want to search for fun. It's the ultimate thing. It tells me that they're not actually searching for fun. What they're searching for is reprieve from the tension, all the anxiety they feel in themselves because they need a distraction. They don't need the fun. They need a distraction because they're not willing to deal with the darkness or whatever it is, the shame, or whatever it is that's hanging over their head, saying it's just a matter of time before they find out. It's just a matter of time before I find out that I actually observe myself and realize, oh, I am a terrible person, aren't I? And yeah, maybe your thoughts, actions, and behaviors have historically been terrible. I know some of mine have. I also know that redemption is free for those that choose it. The only cost is evolving your soul. I guess some people aren't willing to do that. And so those people, well, naturally, I guess they deserve less grace, huh? Hey, homie. I don't know if these are finches or what. Oh. All right. That was fun.